So you've seen all the new Tyranid rules. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get the best out of all those new combos to make sure we're making the most competitive Tyranid lists that we can. Stay tuned. Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for Twisted Dice. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk Tyranids and we're going to take a deeper look at the new Uprising book from Games Workshop and how to get the best from your bugs. Before we get started guys, if you do enjoy the video at any time, don't forget to give us a big old thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more Tyranid content as well as great battle reports, painting tutorials and so much more. And if you'd like to be a patron, all the links and the good stuff is down below. But let's jump in and talk a bit about Tyranids. Right, so today we're going to focus on the really strong things and the way we can make this book as competitive as possible. So start off with, you are going to want to take Leviathan. The Swarm, the Synaptic Link abilities you can use to anybody. There was a bit of confusion there in my last video. You can put them on any hive fleet and you might well do that. But we absolutely want to take one detachment of Leviathan because there's so many good stuff in there. And in that detachment, I'm going to keep it really basic with you guys, you are definitely going to want at least one unit of Hive Guard. That's a must. That's an absolute auto include. You want to take a full maximum unit of 6 Hive Guard. What you're also definitely going to want to take is you're definitely going to want to take 1 unit of Tyranid Warriors. That's going to be a must. And then from an HQ point of view, you're definitely going to want to take something that has the Hive Commander Warlord trait, and you're almost certainly going to want a character that also is going to take a second Warlord trait that is going to take the Strategic Adaptation stratagem. So what that's going to do is it's going to mean that you can redeploy 2 units, and then your other Warlord trait is going to allow you to re-roll all your hits and your misses, whatever you want, to try and maximize your effectiveness of those Hive Guard. So that's kind of your must-have. You've got to have those bits really to go super competitive. You don't want to go outside of that. What you do from there, then you've got a little bit of flexibility, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you're definitely going to want a second unit of Hive Guard. That's, again, almost a certainty you're definitely going to want that. Now, you can go 2 routes with this. You can either take a second unit of Hive Guard in your Leviathan detachment. That's going to then give you the ability to move those with your redeploy, which is very, very strong. It's also going to give you the ability of being able to buff either of those with that unit of Warriors and make either of those have full rerolls from your Warlord. You're obviously only going to be able to do one at a time, but you'll be able to do it on whichever one suits, which gives you a little bit of tactical flexibility, and that redeploy is hugely, hugely strong. Then you're going to want to find a way of buffing that second unit. Now, you probably, because you're taking them in Leviathan and you're not taking them in Kronos, so you're not able to re-roll the 1s if you stand still, which is the Kronos ability. Because you don't have that, what you're going to want to do is buff that second unit as well. So to buff that second unit as well, you're probably going to want another unit of Warriors. So you're probably going to be looking at 2 units of Warriors and 2 units of Hive Guard with a couple of characters. So this is kind of starting to be your foundations of your competitive list. Now, when you've got those 2 units of Warriors, you've got those 2 Hive Guard, and you've got your characters, that then gives you the flexibility to then divert to decide what you want to do. If you want to go for something with a bit more assault capabilities, you can look at Gene Stealers. Gene Stealers are very competitive. The issue you're going to have with Gene Stealers is that they always trade badly unless you can really run them away afterwards. So to hide them using the overrun stratagem, or that you can wrap something to stop it from getting away. But that's obviously so much harder now in 9th edition. So it's quite difficult to get your maximum punch for your Gene Stealers. So also when you take your Gene Stealers, to get the right amount of Gene Stealers is really, really important. So you probably want to be looking at no less than about 14 to 15 Gene Stealers, but you probably only want to have 16 or 17 because, again, because of the buffs that now are available, a unit of Gene Stealers is going to pretty much wreck anything it touches. So you don't need to maximise to a big unit of 20, which is then going to cost you a lot of points. You can go much smaller than that, still get your buffs, still be able to do a lot of damage. So Gene Stealers is a very, very good way to do it. And what for Gene Stealers, you're going to want to be maximising the stratagem, which is Relentless Fury. That is going to mean that you're going to explode sixes, but you're going to explode it into 2 hits. So every hit roll of 6 turns into 2 extra hit rolls. That does cost you 2 CP, but that's going to make those Gene Stealers very, very good. That stratagem can also be used on your Hive Guard, which is where you're going to use it. But obviously you can use that in different phases. So you're going to get full maximised strength from it. But in the Hive Guard, it's only going to cost you 1 CP. You will only be exploding on 6s. So now you've got your foundation of your list. You're going to be taking that. You've then got to decide whether, if you don't want to go for that assault element, you maybe want to go for more shooting. And if you want to go for more shooting, you've got a few options there. You can go for a Tyrannifex. And the Tyrannifex has got some cool new abilities to be able to do mortal wounds with his flesh borer hives. And on top of that, we can also buff him as well, giving him the additional +1 to hit, which is very, very helpful. So you can go that route. You could also, for another very, very strong build, this is when potentially you'd look at getting in an additional detachment of Kronos and then going for another unit of Hive Guard, so you can then have the psychic power in a Kronos detachment to use that for exploding 6s, and potentially you can go for a Synapse creature to buff their effectiveness as well. So that works really, really well. The problem you've got there is you are starting to put your eggs in one basket and you're starting to make yourself quite static. Very frightening amounts of firepower. But personally, I think 2 units of Hive Guard is the magic number. And probably what you're going to want to do, I think, after some testing, is that I think you want to keep it all in Leviathan. I find for the ability to be much more synergistic and being able to keep your buffs where you want them, I find that a lot more flexible. I've actually found as well the 6-up Feel No Pain is actually very, very handy to have and does give you some extra survivability, which, you know, you potentially just take for granted, you know, but actually is very, very useful. So the next unit that you definitely want to be looking at is you want to be looking at your Devil Gaunts. Now these were always good, but they recently got a points decrease, which made them much more effective. But now you can have the exploding 6s. It means that you can get an awful lot of hits on these guys. Also, don't forget we have another stratagem which allows us to, if we want to, we can outflank these guys more effectively at the earlier part of the game. That makes them very, very effective as well. So those Devil Gaunts become even better than they were. So they're a good way to go. So you could quite easily go 2 units of Hive Guard with your Devil Gaunts, and you could go your Tyrannifex as well. We've got quite a lot of shooting. Or otherwise we can go for the Gene Stealers, as I said, and go for more of an assault built list. They're your main options for offensive ability. The other thing that I would want to caveat with your Gene Stealers is, particularly as we're not going to take these in Kraken because we want to maximise the use of the stratagem for exploding 6s, we do definitely want to put the Swarm Lord in there. And the Swarm Lord's great because he has that double move, so he's going to make sure that those Gene Stealers can get their maximum effectiveness. But also, he does act as quite a good to the last because he's quite a lot of points. You can team him up with the Hive Guard, and he's actually quite difficult to kill if you play him strategically. So he can be a good option. He's still quite a lot of points, and you are bringing him very much as, you know, for those Gene Stealers. So worth considering when you're thinking about the Gene Stealers. It's quite a lot of points, which is why, you know, you have to kind of almost look at that factor of how you want to go with it. So there are some really, really key little factors to building your competitive Tyranid list. So then once you've got those and you've worked out how you want to do it, whether whether you're going to go for Tyrannifexes, whether you're going to go for Devil Gaunts, Gene Stealers, Swarm Lord, 3 units of Hive Guard. There's some other things to consider here. So the other things to consider is you obviously got 3 synapse link abilities to take. We've talked about taking 2 Tyranid warriors. I think that's almost a must. But what I would consider then in your third is either going for a Tervigan. The Tervigan's going to give you the ability to reroll the 1s and the 2s for hitting with shooting attacks. That's great for, you know, for high strength targets or high toughness targets for the Hive Guard. It just makes them a little bit more effective as well, because you're going to be more consistently wounding with them. But you have got to sacrifice, meaning that you're probably going to be hitting on 3s. And maybe re-rolling everything with 1 of them, but it's the kind of the swings and roundabouts that you have to take into account. So that gives you quite a good option. But my favourite option, and the one that I would go for, is I would go for the Maleceptor. There's a couple of reasons to take the Maleceptor in your competitive lists. The main one, though, is his synapse link ability gives you the ability to not only for a 6s to wound to give you +1 or -1 AP to make those Hive Guard shots -3, but more importantly, it gives you the ability to reroll damage. Now that is one of the key factors. There's an awful lot of things in the game that reduce damage by 1. That really hurts the Hive Guard, and particularly you're going to see more and more armies use that because there's going to be more and more Hive Guard on the board. And to have stuff that is going to neuter your Hive Guard just to 1 damage, potentially, is going to really hurt you. But the ability to be able to reroll those damage rolls if you get a 1 through till 4, and to be able to roll it to try and get those 3s, because it doesn't matter if you get a 3 or a 4 or a 1 and 2, it's doing the same amount of damage. So you can gamble it every time you don't get one of those to try and get the 3 damage, so it does 2 damage. So that's really, really strong. And on top of that, if you've got stuff that is going to ignore AP 1 and 2, to have that extra hit, to have it -3, is also going to be effective. So I always think to have a Maleceptor up your sleeve for those particular targets that you need to kill off is really, really handy. So I think that's a very, very good use. The second use is he has his ability as well to minus the strength of incoming shots. That's very good because, again, if things are going after your Hive Guard or after your general, after your castle, to be able to use that stratagem to keep stuff a little bit more safe and secure is also a secondary bonus to have that guy there. So I think a Maleceptor is always really, really handy. So let's summarise this, guys, into a list that's going to work, or what I should say is the idea of a list. I'm going to give you an idea of what would work really, really well. Then you can play around with what you want to put in the list to make it fit you. So the way that I would build my list and the way that I've been, tweaking with things is I've been running just 1 battalion. I feel you have enough in 1 battalion. And in that battalion, I am running at least 1 Neurothrope, and then I'm teaming that up with either a Hive Tyrant or a Tervigan. Then in my troops choice, I'm taking some bodies. You need to take bodies because you need to hold people back from attacking your Hive Guard. Ultimately, they are your damage dealers. They are the things that will probably win or lose the game for you if you allow them to get either tapped, to get shot at, to get assaulted. So I go for at least 30 to 40 to 50 termagants as a screen and as a body of troops to jump on objectives as well. Objectives secure, they're not going to run away. They're just something that your opponent has to deal with while they're being shot at and dealt with by other targets. So I'd go with that. Then I would go with 2 units of Tyranid Warriors. Keep them cheap and cheerful. I quite like putting the Death Spitters on them rather than the Devourers. They're just that little bit better of a gun. So I do tend to put that, and mine happen to be modelled like that. But don't worry with a bio cannon. It's not worth it. So don't go with that. Then I always like to have 1 or 2 units of rippers, because I think that it's nice to have that ability to deep strike in to take certain secondaries, you know, well, for engaging on fronts, I should say. So that's kind of my troops and a little bit the idea of the HQ. Obviously within that HQ, they're going to have those 2 warlord traits. So I'm going to spend the CPs on that. Then when we go into my elites, I'm always going to have 2 units of Hive Guard. That's a standard. I'm also going to have a couple of lictors, because again, for my taking those secondary objectives is absolutely key. Then in my fast support, I'm going to go with at least 1 or 2 units of Raveners. The reason why I like these guys is because, again, they're amazing at secondaries. You can just fire them forward and they can score those points really, really well. So, you know, they're just great at that. And you need to think about that when you're playing this. If we become too static and we become too castly, we're just putting too many points into shooting units, then what we're going to find is we're just going to lose the game, because we're not going to score enough key secondaries and we're not going to get our primaries. So you need stuff that's going to go out and that's going to do that. But again, that's the cap strategy, and that doesn't really change. Again, I'll put a link to those videos down in the description below, so you can get your kind of Tyranid basic strategy in place. And then on heavies, I do like, oh, actually in an elite as well, obviously I have a Maliceptor as well, so I would consider one of those. In my heavies, I like a Tranifex with the Flesh Borer Hives. I think that's really, really useful. And that's kind of the foundations of a really competitive Tyranid list there. It's going to give you good ball presence. It's got plenty of pace. It's got loads of hit in shooting. It's not very good in combat. That is the only caveat to it. I'm playing board control, and I'm going to try and just kind of choke up the board, expect to take casualties, but score a lot of points. That's what I'm going for. If you want to go combat, obviously you're going to want to bring those Gene Stealers in there. Maybe a fatty unit of Tyranid Warriors, but personally, I'm not super keen on that idea. So that's kind of how I would go. So if you'd like to know more and you'd like me to kind of potentially actually write lists and stuff that for you, I'm more than happy to do that. The link again is to the Patreon is down below. Become a patron. I'm more than happy to share as many lists as you like in there. But hopefully this video has been really, really useful for you. If you have stayed around to watch till this point, really do appreciate it. You guys are the reason why the channel is growing as it is. So thank you very much. And hopefully you've enjoyed the video. And until the next one, I'm Aceface, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.